Good morning and welcome to a very windy and rather damp Dockray. This is the checkpoint for the next leg of the Lakeland 100 that we're going to have a look at today. We're heading over towards Dalemain, which is roughly the halfway point of the Lakeland 100 and also the start of the Lakeland 50. Rob's in the car doing a little bit of faffing, so we're just about ready to go. It's nice and light and the forecast isn't looking too bad, so let's get it done. As is a bit of a tradition for when me and Rob are out in the fells, Rob went the wrong way initially, but I managed to quickly put him right, and we're now on the correct route heading over towards Dalemain.
Now tell them what really happened.
Right, yeah, it was me. I went the wrong way, but it was just to test Rob's navigational skills. So we're starting off on the road for the first section. It's all downhill and then we'll be hitting the trail in a little while. The weather is a little bit breezy, so we may not be able to get the drone up today, but you can see the views we've got. So this section of the Lakeland 100 is roughly halfway in the whole route, and over the last couple of months Rob's been running the first section of the Lakeland 100 and recording it for his YouTube channel, GoRobRun. I'll put the link down below.
Fucking coffee bouncing about.
So we just had a little practice with the drone, and we've ran alongside the stream, still going downhill. This is really good trail. It's a little bit slippery, but it's definitely runnable. So here we've got Ullswater, and at next week's Tour de Helvellyn we'll be on the other side of that ridge line, running across Askham Fell and over to the head of Ullswater at Glenriddin before we ascend up and over the pass around Helvellyn. Stunning day today. If we have weather like this next week, I dare hope.
If we have weather like this next week, I'm going to end up melting.
Yeah.
This thing about TDH, you can't come under for third, can you?
Yeah, I mean we've had some changeable weather. It was quite warm last year initially, but then it did get pretty chilly as we were going over the tops. Right, we've got a bit of climbing now. Should we test Rob's climbing legs? You ready for a run, mate?
Not on this night, no.
Right, let's see. This could have been a decent spot to get the drone out, but it is quite breezy up here and I don't want to risk it. So that is a definite first. Rob is entrusting navigation to me.
Stop there. Hand the camera at me. Right, there's a reason for this, guys. Let go. It's single track, he can't get lost. So I trust him.
I don't actually think he 100% trusts me, but what's the worst that can happen?
That's very civil of you, mate. I thought you were going to turn that into something about my weight.
No, I wouldn't mention your weight at all. It's amazing how well you run, considering how much you're carrying. I jest. Absolutely. Rob's lost a load of weight recently. He's looking fantastic for it. And he's running extremely well. Smashed it out the park at the Beacon Bash last week. Only narrowly beaten by my 18-year-old son in what could become a very big grudge battle as the years roll on. So on this very nondescript section of trail, we have just crossed over the halfway point for the Lakeland 100, 81.6 kilometres. There's a rock about 50 metres behind, which was where we tripped over that point on the GPX, and we're roughly halfway up Ullswater. In the distance we've got Howtown, which is 2 checkpoints away for the Lakeland 100. It's the first checkpoint for the Lakeland 50, and in the distance you've got the ridge of High Street, and that's a pretty prominent marker for when you're running up and out of Pooley Bridge. Tour de Helvellyn, by the way, follows High Street, but it cuts up the valley and separates from the Lakeland 100 route to head over towards Martindale Church and ultimately over Glenriddin onto the Helvellyn Massif. But we're probably around the high point of today's leg before we start the descent down into Pooley Bridge. Down into Dalemain, not Pooley Bridge. We're finishing at Pooley Bridge because that's where the car's parked, but we're going to descend down into Dalemain. Right, and Rob's got a bit of a spurt on, so I'll have to go and catch him up. You all right?
Fuck, mate. That hurt my hands. Fucking hell.
Yeah, Rob's just took a bit of a tumble, so I think we need to point out this savage tree root. Just
Jumped up and fucking attacked me.
yes, exactly. So if you come in on this way, just be careful of that potential trap. You all right?
Yeah, at least it wasn't on rocks up there.
I
Bit of gravel rash.
I was filming in the opposite direction as he fell, and you'll probably notice the camera shake slightly.
I think the lady's skin.
I think we'll pick it up as a minor earthquake on this. And there's currently a tsunami going across Ullswater. So, anyway, I think we're okay.
Grit everywhere. Yeah. It's fine.
Right, good man. He's still chuntering about his fall.
It's been like 20 metres.
And he's put a hole in his new jacket.
Hey, fuck up, I didn't have my face on.
Yeah.
I'd be really upset.
These things happen. So we're not far from the checkpoint of Dalemain, and then we've got a couple of k's after that over to Pooley Bridge to pick the car up. And this is as good a time as anywhere to talk about racing mindset and how me and Rob politely disagree on the subject. So go on, Rob. Do you want to tell us about your mindset and your attitude towards racing?
I think it's easier to talk about mine in contrast to yours. Because I've always said you've got more of a sort of like head down and just fucking go as fast as you can and as hard as you can. And for me, you know, I think you'd agree, you miss turns and end up doubling back and stuff, whereas I'd rather be a little bit more methodical. So and, you know, when I know that I need to have a nav stop, establish where I am and establish the route whereas you'd just rather charge on like a bull and, you know.
Right, so what he's done there is use his opportunity to have a chat to criticise my approach rather than talk about his own approach, really. How would you explain your
approach is wrong.
How would you explain your attitude towards racing something like an Ironman where you don't have to navigate?
I don't know. I think I tend to be a bit more reserved than you, because you know, I pretty much end up finishing every race that I enter, and you have a habit of blowing up halfway and not getting across the finish line. Once
that happened.
Oh, sorry, yeah, because I forgot on the ones that you think you won't finish, you don't even start.
Well, I'll give him that one. It isn't a right or wrong way. The way I approach racing is I want to maximise my achievement on the day, and yeah, in some races I've come up stuck and I've ended up with a DNF, but in other races I've had fantastic results and I've punched well above my weight. And I've pulled out some good races.
Well, he's all right saying that in terms of racing, but it goes beyond racing, doesn't it?
Oh, look, yeah.
What's that?
Lakeland 100 renovation. So some of the money raised over the years at the Lakeland 100 has gone to fixing these trails.
But no, it goes beyond sort of like the race day stuff, because even when we've just been out in the lakes, you know, I mean, when we've been up to Langdale, just, you know, trotting around, having a day out, you're still really, really reluctant to just stop for sort of like 120 seconds to do a map check to establish where we are. Because you sort of like, you've got that compulsive, let's get to the finish line thing. And, you know, I'm not saying it's a fundamental human flaw that you've got, but it's just, you know, you're a lot more impatient than me.
I may have to do some editing with this video. I'm not particularly pleased with the way this conversation is going.
No, it's just differences, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation before, and you're right. For all the time that I spend getting a map out and doing a map check and a nav check, you can be sort of like head down, realise that you've made an error, and be back and corrected before I've even got my map back in my thingy. It's just preference. I'd just rather not do all the doubling back and sort of like, you know.
Yeah, that explains it on the navigational events that we've done, or some of the days out we've had. And it is, I do see it as a bit of a flaw as well, because I have had races where I've got hopelessly lost and I've been circling around trying to find my way, and a couple of times when we've been out in the hills, I've made some questionable navigational decisions, which Rob has taken great pride in correcting, versus Garmin, his GoPro signalling. What I'll do, I'll walk a little bit further down and I'll tell you what I really think about Rob's racing strategies. So in my opinion, Rob looks at an event or a race as a whole, and his target is to complete that event, expending as little energy as possible. And this isn't a criticism of him, because in some of the ultramarathons, it's got him to the finish where I failed. So he's actually got one up on me on a number of events that way, but my approach differs significantly, because I tend to try and move across the ground a little bit quicker, and my goal is to finish the event or the course in as quick as time as possible, and I don't really care about energy expenditure. So what's your approach to racing? As I get older, I am kind of coming to terms with the fact that I'm slowing down quite a bit, and you know, those times are behind me now, but I still have those feelings when I race. I raced at the Beacon Bash last week, and my goal at the start was just to thrash myself, and I went off as hard as I could with very little regard for the distance. It was 20 miles and I pulled out a decent time. I'm quite happy with my time and my overall result, but I was absolutely shattered at the end, and I've had a week of very limited exercise as a result. So I'm not sure. Trying to get my head round strategies as I get older and as I enter my old age, and we need to try and maximise our exercise and minimise the amount of time we spend sat on the couch. You alright?
Yeah.
Alright, which way?
Hang on a minute, my mile marker's up. Straight on according to this. What a weird May. They did 3 models.
Right, we've been on the road for a couple of Ks now. This is one of the longest road sections of the entire Lakeland 100 course. We're about 2 kilometres from the checkpoint and maybe 3 kilometres further on from Pooley Bridge and our finishing point. And this last section has been fantastic. Gradual downhill with a couple of little ramps, but it's a point on the course where you could definitely make up some time, especially if you've been going slow overnight.
I thought that was a reference to me then.
Not at all. No reference to your pace or lack thereof. Should we try a draw? So now we're on the Lakeland 50 course, which is also the Lakeland 100 course. And as we go through Dalemain Estate, the Lakeland 50 circles back from the start behind, and it puts an extra couple of Ks in before the actual start onto the route. And it's a pretty decent start to the Lakeland 50. Fairly flat to begin with, can get a little bit muddy in the fields, but it's a nice way to break your legs in and get ready for the rigours ahead. So leg one of the Lakeland 50 goes through Pooley Bridge and up to Howtown, and then it goes up and over, what's the name of the pass? Fusedale, yeah. Up and over Fusedale, which is one of the longest climbs of the day. The start of the 50 is actually here behind me, and the marquee is over on the other side of that tree, and the route, you can see the trail, it goes all the way up to the fence at the top end of the field, and then it circumnavigates all the way round up a little ridge along the tree line and back down to here. We go past the start past the start again, and then we follow this trail over towards Pooley Bridge. And apart from this short section here, it's all private land, so you can't really go and recce the first part of the Lakeland 50 course. But now we're on public footpath, so we can proceed at our leisure. And we've only got a couple of K now until we get to Pooley Bridge. My battery's down at about 10%, so we may not do much filming from here. Come on. And this is the very last section into Pooley Bridge. We can see the village in front of us, and we're going to finish with bang on 20k, and we're going for around 3 hours. So it's been a cracking run. Weather's been very kind, the sun's coming out now. Absolutely perfect. Apart from Rob's little tumble, it's been a brilliant day. Thanks very much, mate.
You're welcome, mate. Thanks for coming.
I'm ready for some lunch. And he's racing the last little bit as well. Look at him half wheeling me. I'll let him carry on. Well, if you've made it this far, why don't you consider subscribing? Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you've got any questions about the Lakeland 100 or Lakeland 50 route, hit me up in the comments. But for now, my name's Paul, and that was Paul Runs Daily.